as Ilona said, I think a lot of the tools that we have been working on are very complementary, and the intervention logic is something very useful to be developed before diving into the intervention objective impact matrix or alongside of it, so they can be used in a similar process. The intervention objective and impact matrix is something is a tool that helps to align policy interventions with objectives in a coherent and evidence-based ways, and it helps to policymakers in designing effective CAP strategic plans. Basically, or not basically, but we have colleagues in our teams from the Netherlands, from the Wageningen University. Marcel and Reul, I think, are also here today, and they have a lot of experience in implementing the IOI matrix and have also advanced its development in the application for the CAP a lot. So I'm inviting you also to add to my presentation if I missed out something. What is the purpose of the tool? As said before, it helps to align the interventions with the CAP objectives and also with other objectives that are relevant in the specific context. It helps to identify synergies and trade-offs, and it helps to enhance transparency, coherence, and stakeholder engagement in the process of designing the CAP strategies. The benefits of it are the support of evidence-based decision-making. It also encourages participatory planning, and it improves policy relevance and legitimacy, or whatever. I'm not a native English speaker, so I accuse myself. To show you what in principle an IOI matrix looks like, I have created a very simple example here. So in this example, we have the interventions in the row, so all the interventions that are available in that context. Each intervention gets a row, and the objectives are in the columns. That can also be turned around and doesn't make any difference. It's more like a visualization question, what fits better. It is based on Tinbergen's policy optimization theory, and it can also be expanded with quantitative models later. Each of the cell gets an entry of, in this case, it's pluses, double pluses, and minuses, but it can also be numbers or it can be colors, illustrating the qualitative impact an intervention has towards a certain objective. And this visualization then helps to use this in policy decision making. This is just an overview in terms of how to design an IOI matrix. There, it's quite a long process. So just having the matrix itself takes some time. First we start with a clear definition of the policy objectives. Well, these are, of course, the CAP specific objectives or also refined ones based on national or regional needs. Often this step is also informed by the SWOT analysis or stakeholder consultations. And the goal here is to ensure that we are targeting the right challenges with the right interventions. Then the second step is also to identify the interventions that are relevant in the specific context. These include, of course, the CAP measures from both pillars, but it could also include national instruments depending on the specific purpose you are setting for the application of the IOI matrix. It's important to be comprehensive here. This step sets the foundation for the matrix. So we really need to capture all the tools that could help achieve the objectives in this step. The third step is the construction of the matrix. As I said, the objectives go to the columns and the interventions to the rows, but we will see later in the breakout group that that could also be the other way around. It doesn't really matter. However, this is the principle in the matrix. Then we use qualitative indicators like the pluses and minuses, but it can also be numbers to show directions and magnitude of impact. This visual structure helps us to see the alignment and the gaps, and that's really useful in the process. Step 4 is, I think, probably most time-consuming and crucial point in this construction of the IOI matrix. It's basically the analysis of the impacts. This includes both direct and indirect effects, and we also consider positive and negative outcomes. Often this step involves expert workshops or stakeholder discussion to validate the assumptions and refine the matrix. As basis for the judgment, it has to be said that here, of course, it is very desired to build this on scientific evidence from evaluations, from studies and so on, maybe also from modeling. But often there is no quantification. So here it's really helpful to build a sound foundation of the judgment based on experts, for example. In step 5, this is the prioritization of the interventions. So we have the field and matrix. Now we can try to develop a set of interventions that are optimal in achieving the desired objectives. Of course, here it also has to be considered what are the available resources, which is not directly shown in the matrix, but it is something that informs, of course, the decision-making process as well. Once a set of interventions have been selected to become part of the strategic plan, this would also need to be reported and communicated. Of course, the matrix can also be used to inform the broader audiences, broader stakeholder world about the underlying evidence that helped to select these interventions. In terms of practical application, the time to use the IOI matrix is during the CAP strategic plan design process, but it can also be applied in midterm reviews or in ex post evaluations to see how well a plan met the objectives that were set. Generally, this is used by managing authorities and policy divisions, but it should also involve other stakeholders and researchers. We have examples where this have been applied. So, of course, the Netherlands, as we will see also later, and in Slovenia, our colleagues from Ljubljana have been very active on that as well. And here they used the Delphi method for the expert input for the judgments, just as an example. This example shown here, you probably can't read it, and it's in Slovenian anyway, so not everyone will understand it, but it's just a visual to show you how it visually is helping to make decisions or see where there are gaps. There are a few challenges in applying the IOI matrix. First of all, data availability and quality. That's, I think, quite obvious. And it can also be a question of resources in that context. Then, of course, the question of stakeholder coordination in the decision-making process. This mainly refers then to those engaged in the decision-making process itself. So not this would be other ministries involved, for example, for environment and climate, but also economic and social partners, and so on. here we come also to the question of balancing ideological perspectives. So it's less a question of designing the IOI matrix, but rather finding someone to facilitate the process. And here we can make use of the other participatory communication tools that we have prepared. And then, of course, we have to consider the time and resource intensity. We estimate 2 to 6 months, depending on the scope of the exercise. So, of course, the design process is always tight. So, question is, do we have enough time to apply this? What we conclude and what are our takeaways? The IOI matrix is powerful and it's a flexible tool for strategic policy design. It helps to ensure that interventions are coherent, impactful, and in line with CAP goals, and it encourages inclusive, transparent, and evidence-based policy making. And I think it supports also well, or it has good synergies with the intervention logic and the application in the decision-making process. We have also got some further readings, of course, in our deliverable related to this task. Then I have put the information or papers on the both examples that I mentioned, so from Slovenia and from the Netherlands. And there's, of course, more reading available, and this is also included in the deliverable on methodological guidelines, including the protocols.